people are getting put in your way. They are having some bit of darkness working through them to throw you off. You are going to be becoming more and more aware of people who are not your friends. They are not your allies. They do not have your best interest at heart. And they are just playing the game. And the reason why this is becoming more and more apparent, we've been talking about this for years, but not everybody is waking up to it. We're starting to see through people's games. The old paradigm is crumbling. And as I've been saying for quite some time, they're not going to know what to do with this because they think that their games are still working. It's exactly like the scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy goes behind the curtain and she's standing there looking at the wizard and the wizard is unaware of her and keeps his game going. And then when he realizes she's standing there, he changes his tune, right? So that is what is occurring. Now, let's talk about those, I'm going to call them entities. Entities that feed from us being upset, being scared, being insecure. And here's what is so heavy about this. It's just, you're going to lose, or I think a lot of us have lost ourselves in other people's opinions of us. Or some sort of threat dangling over our heads. You know, if you don't let us treat you any old way, we're going to kick you out of the family. We're not going to be friends with you. You won't have a job. The job thing is the worst thing ever because if you don't let us treat you any old way we want, we're going to take away your ability to afford shelter and food and to have health care when you need it. So there's a lot of this going on, but I want you to be very cognizant that it is not you. Now, there are lots of you who are watching this and you're the one that terrorizes someone else. Okay? There's a big audience here, you know, so we're going to have a little bit of everything in here. So if you're the one who's terrorizing others, you're not going to be having a good time whatsoever. It's crumbling down. You will not be permitted to walk away. So maybe if you get disregarded with a text or you call somebody, you email somebody and they just don't answer you and you're like, message received, they will come hunt you down. Because the idea here, the game for them is that you are here to be my minion, to be a filler person. You are here to make me look like I have an army. You are here for me to feed upon. You are my supply. Now, I'm not going to treat you well, but you don't get to just walk away. Pay attention to people who do not back you up. Now, again, I'm not talking to people who just think you can do no wrong and everyone should just, cater to you. I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking about, thinking of an example, Mean Girls as an example, but like the minions that just follow the one that they've been told is super popular. The movie The Help would be another great example where everyone just kind of follows that one woman around and wants her approval and, all of that. It's going to be a little bit sad for people with very good hearts, and especially if you are a sensitive soul, a light being soul, an angelic soul, whatever the case may be, because you will see these people suffering, and it's going to make you hurt to see them suffering. Remember, the most loving thing you can do is not interfere. Okay, now if somebody's really in a bad place, of course, do what you can to help them out. But as does happen with people like what I'm talking about here, when they finally get their karma or when they finally have things not working out for them, they don't know how to be. They haven't done the work like you've done the work. We saw this during the pandemic. And I've said this before and I get hate every time I say this. There were people on social media who were going on and on about how they're suffering because they're isolated and I'm used to being around my friends and my family and I'm just suffering. I'm suffering. And it was so blatant that they were just trying to get attention because they're used to feeding off of people. I'm so dramatic right now. But I just messed up my microphone too. There we go. But, when I spoke up and said, hey, this isn't authentic, number one. And two, this is exactly the type of person that we talk about. They don't care that there have been people out there already isolated and not feeling like they're loved or understood. They've been told they're a burden. Like people suffer in their loneliness, in their isolation all the time and well before any of that stuff started going down. But when it affected the types of people who need to feed, they were starving and they were crying about it. And I swear it made me so sick to see how people came to their defense. Oh, that's so mean. I know you mean well, but, right? So we got to start watching some of those little trigger phrases. I hope you guys wake up. I really do. I'm in it too. It's going to be tough. And I don't know about y'all, and comment down below, but for me, being quiet about it is the toughest part. Because people still think they're being slick and you're watching them act the fool. And to not, I guess, make things worse, you might pretend like they're not exposed. I don't know. But it will be very, very clear who your enemies are. And allies of your enemies. Again, let me come back to that point. If someone is still worshiping someone who has been harmful to you, or they keep bringing them up, and then looking over at you to see what your response is, that is not a friend. And I'm going to go further. A lot of those people, especially if you feel like you're being targeted, like if you're that person who's like genuinely nice and kind and people just step all over you, the darkness sees you as a burning fire that needs to be put out. And some of these people, they don't have much soul light at all. Some of them maybe don't even have a conscience. And so they're open vessels for that energy to work through. It's going to be a little bit tough out there, okay? It's going to be a little rocky, so I think that's why we should be here for each other. The other thing that's going to be happening here, we're back to the fake spiritual people, the spiritual egoism, egotistical spiritualism, whatever you want to call it, fake positivity, toxic positivity, whatever phrase you resonate with, where people are just throwing buzzwords around and trying to make themselves seem like they're super spiritual. Or trying to act like they're super peaceful all the time. Or like they've got all the answers. Careful. You're going to do what you're going to do. I'm going to watch the ones who are being like angels are. To the point. I'm going to watch the people who might even raise their voice a little bit. Because I know they're a real one. I got mocked by someone because I said that person's a real one. And I understood why they were mocking me. But I don't think they understood what I really meant by that. A real one is a real lighted soul who maybe has been affected by a lot of circumstances. A non-real one would be a feeder soul, someone who has a lot of darkness running through them. That's what I mean by that. Okay? I want you to be forewarned. I want you to get ready for this. How do you get ready? I'm gonna pull the more practical cards out here, and I do have the Magdalene Oracle here as well. We'll pull a card from that to see what's coming up here in this week, give or take. Remember, this is an angel reading. We don't go by the strict rules of some of the other esoteric arts, okay? But yeah, I want to know how this is going to affect all of us on the surface. But I don't know about y'all. Here's this, okay? So I think a lot of us are going to start realizing how much time we put into going along to get along. And I know I've gotten into a place of, okay, I'm not going to sit there and smile back at someone who's smiling in my face when I overheard you talking about me. I'm not going to smile back at the person who I know always has these little under the radar, little pokey aggression, little moves in my direction. I'm just going to seal off my energy. Now, when you do that, and again, we've talked about that for years, but when you do that, they get mad. Because how dare you take away their baba? How dare you? You were put on this earth to feed them. And that's how they see you. That's how they see us. We're a threat. And they think we don't have power. But the thing is, we have all the power. And the reason why it hurts us is because we do have a conscience. We have a heart light. This would go into the realm as well of people who are super cerebral. They have no intuition. Well, everybody's a little mix of everything, I suppose. But you see what I'm saying. They're heavy on the intellect. They're heavy on everything being analyzed and everything being logistical. You know what I'm saying? And what's weird to me, I live in a town where people in general are not very intuitive or creative. I said what I said. But they go to church. It's really weird. Or they're super analytical, but they go to church. I've been fascinated by that. And that in my opinion, if you go to church, I know I have a big audience here. Like, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, but if we're going to come into more balance and harmony with one another, there needs to be, what is up with my mic? Hold on. I'm going to keep talking here. We're friends here, right? Gotta bring this closer, I think. There needs to be more harmony and acceptance of one another. I know, obviously, I don't know if that's doing anything, sorry. I'm a very creative, intuitive person, obviously, right? This is what I do. I can't tell you how many times in my life I have been diminished by someone who is very cerebral, okay? Thinking that how I see things is silly, trite, not grounded, or that I don't know how to play the game. I'm choosing not to play the game. And that's what they can't understand. So comment down below if you can relate. Where your accomplishments, the way you see things, not taken seriously in favor of somebody who is, quite frankly, programmable. Not a huge news flash there, I suppose. But there is something turning over. And I would even say the next couple of weeks might be pretty rough. And it might be because you're just sick of it. You're just sick of it and you're tired of tiptoeing. So let's get some cards here about how it might affect us on this, a little more on the surface. It's still like a deeper reading, but a little bit more on the surface. A lot of you are getting really good at being like, no, with no explanation. Just no. And here's why. Okay, so this is interesting. This is Two of Ariel. It's important to have balance, working multiple jobs or projects at once, making work fun. I don't know about y'all, but I open my inbox and there's just so many emails. I'm active in my community, so there's a lot of stuff that, comes at me to take care of. And it's not like I didn't know that I had to take care of stuff. I know, okay, I'm doing it, but it's like everybody wants to pull you onto their time schedule. It's a fire to be put out for them, but not for you, right? Or this could kind of get into people micromanaging you. In my case, I do personal readings for people Wait time is 25 days. When I put that out, I have until midnight on the 25th day Eastern time to get that reading to you before it's considered late. And there have been times I've gotten sick and, I got behind on readings. So I always communicate with people if it's going to be late, or at least I try to get something through to let you know, like, I got sick, or something like that. But you'd be surprised, and this is just an example, how people, they'll start emailing. I've had them email 12 hours after they put the reading request in when there's like a 3-week wait time, over a 3-week wait time. So that impatience, that pushiness, it's going to do something to your energy field. It might, if you have anxiety, that's going to get you charged up and they're going to make you believe that you owe them something faster than you do. You can work on your own schedule. And if you wake up, one day and you're like, I said I would go do this or that plan, I'm not feeling it. Depends on who it is. If you have somebody who genuinely wants to see you, like I would never cancel on my nephew. Okay. If he wants me, I'm there. I don't care if I'm dead. I'll be there in spirit. Okay. Like I'm going. If it's some other kind of event where I often get disregarded and diminished because they're so bothered by me and they just want to make sure I, stay in my place kind of thing. I don't owe you anything. I mean, unless I'm supposed to bring the food, in which case, why are you asking me to do that anyway? You know what I'm saying? So feel free to not let people take advantage of you, I guess is the bottom line. And what's more, we're going to put it out there that, and you don't have to accept this, shut down if you don't want to accept this, but we will put it out there that we want a balance and a harmony. Anyone who intends to misuse or invade our energy, let it come back to them times 10. Let our energy be recaptured, cleansed, and blessed, and returned to us, and we are sealed off, and we are healed. And so it is. I say that because there will be absolute desperation, like energetic desperation. You don't have time for the nonsense because here's the star. Okay. And the number on here is 17. In angel numbers, we would add the 7 and the 1 and make it an 8. Now the 8 kind of flows into 9. So all of the numbers, we always kind of see them because we're humans with egos, right? We like everything in its nice little compartment with a label. Yes. Well, that's not really how it is with angelic energy. One number kind of flows into another. It's just a broader perspective. Okay. So it's not that it's not cut and dry, is that we have these weird expectations. So anyway, the number 8 often is associated with abundance. That's like going to be the first thing that you hear people say. But it's an awakening. It's an opening. It's an expansion of consciousness. It can, on its side, be infinity. So if you aren't embracing the energy that is showing you, you could get on a karmic cycle. Okay. Now, the energy of the 8 flows into 9. That's where we start having like that spiritual awakening. Okay. And that's why I was saying it's not so rigid. Okay. So the star archangel Jophiel. Jophiel is about the crown chakra and about beauty, harmony, wisdom, living in your wisdom. And Jophiel is going to help you realize, I don't want the big corporate job. Perhaps. I mean, if that's not on your path. Realizing I was conditioned to think I should want that. But that's not how I'm happy. And that's part of your healing. That's just one example. Okay, so it says a dream come true, believe in yourself, the end of a difficult situation. But the reason why it's at the end of a difficult situation is because you're realizing what really matters. You're getting your priorities straight and you're seeing the beauty of your life as it is. We're coming into an era, and I'm seeing this all over social media, where people are really wanting to be de-influenced. Okay? Or people are exposing like, hey, that person who looks like they have a gorgeous mansion of a house, they rent that house to film. It's not theirs. Or shocker, people rent a car and they pose next to it. That's been going on for quite some time. But that's extreme, to rent houses just to look like you have this big fancy home, when at least here in the United States, most Americans live in not even a middle class home. A lot of it would be considered, middle lower class, or, you know what I'm saying? So, and then I don't know, in my town, I gotta share this. In my town, I grew up near the north end of town. Now, this is where a lot of factories are, and there is an area, a little patch of an area that's been known for some rough stuff happening. But otherwise, it's a very historical, beautiful part of town. Then there's the south end of town, and this is where people think they're rich. And it is the funniest freaking thing to watch. The Tire King of Ohio and his wife, it's not even a mansion. It's just, what? It's like they just live in these regular old houses, but they think they're rich. Or they might describe themselves as upper middle class, but if you've lived anywhere outside of this region, you would know they're not even close. But it's funny how one side will judge the other. I've actually, I heard somebody say something disparaging about a street that I used to live on, and I was like, I grew up in that area, and the person was like, "Oh, well, I didn't mean anything by it." Okay. Again, these people don't live in mansions, but they have to find a way to belittle you, even if it's in a slight way. That's why we call it a slight. Now, your societal conditioning will say, don't be petty, let it go, be the bigger person. That might be an effective message for someone who is very deep in their three-dimensional ego consciousness, who wants to fight everybody because their ego is bruised. That's a message for them. You as a lighted soul, a sensitive soul, no, you don't have to take it. No. And that's what the star card is showing us. All right. Then we have King of Michael. Principled, rational, ambitious, respected. Wisdom and objectivity are important now. Stay in your integrity, okay? A situation that calls for honest and open communication. This is the other thing too, silencing people. So we're realizing we don't have to be silenced. One of the ways that I've been controlled on this channel since I started it way back in 2013, people would, I don't know if it was because I'm a woman or they look at me and expect me to be soft-spoken. I don't know what it was, but I've been called blunt. I have been called sassy, feisty. Why? Think about it. It's not really because I'm any of those things. It's because people are so not used to someone being real and open and honest and, quite frankly, vulnerable. We don't know what to do with that. Now, we had always been told like that made you weak and you need to, I don't know, not be that. Be quieter, be sweeter. I don't like how she talks to us in these videos. I don't like how blah, 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 blah. Boy, the egotistical people would really show themselves, because if you're bothered by me, you're bothered by strength. If you're bothered by me, you're bothered because you can't control me. And you really think that people like me were put on this earth to serve you. And when we say, no, you got it quite backwards, not that you're to serve us, but we're not here to be stepped on. We're here to be respected. We deserve that respect. People are going to go wild. So this King of Michael is you realizing all of this and saying, no, I don't. I have, in the past couple of weeks, gotten rid of some clients who I have put up with a lot from them for years. Cut them off. And there have been some others that I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to wake up and realize a few things. Like the whole, if I do a live reading and someone's sitting there the whole time having some sort of like judgment about messages that are coming up, or it's not what they had in their head, and so they assume it's wrong, which is wild. Who's the reader here? How long have I been doing this? A long time. A long time. Well before I ever did it as a profession. I'm good at this. So if it's coming up and I'm delivering it to you, I'm not saying I can't be wrong. I'm still a human. Still got to go through my ego consciousness. But more often than not, when someone's like, okay, it's because I hit a nerve. It was something they needed to hear and they didn't want to hear it. All right. Let's get one more card here. Boy, if this is an eclipse energy right here. Okay, so we have 16. The 6 and the 1 become a 7. 7 is get in touch with the higher realms. Get in touch with your higher self. Get in touch with the archangels. This is the archangel number, okay? Change your life, Archangel Shamuel. Here we go. So Shamuel says, you could reach your fullest potential and love your life and fall in love with your life and fall in love with who you are and fall in love with like-minded people, not just people who are, oh God, I keep getting like the Mean Girls image in my head. Not that, okay? That's, no. Oh, y'all, I'm old, okay? Nobody ever seems to grow out of the junior high phase of cliques. Like now we just call it networking and politics. Okay. So Shamuel says you could fall in love and have real connection with healthy minded people, not people who are programmed. We're going to have to start talking like this because the split is here. It's defined. We were trying to avoid it, but it's here. Okay. So now you are going to have people who are still deeply asleep. They insist on remaining asleep and they will attack now people who are trying to wake them up. Now, it's so funny. I'm going to share this because I said this, not that I came up with this phrase, but I remember I said this in a video many years ago because it was a message that was coming through. And I said, think about if someone suddenly, if you're in a deep sleep and somebody suddenly turns on the light, it's going to startle you. You might get up yelling. And I just heard somebody say that almost like what I said in a video, almost verbatim in a video. Like, it's one thing if you get the same kind of concept, but almost verbatim, you saw my video. Like this is stuff we deal with, okay? So the idea here is that there's going to be a turnover. That split is there. If people are going to remain asleep, we got to let them remain asleep. We are no longer going to allow them to make us feel bad for who we are, how we live, and what we bring to the table, because mostly it would force them to face themselves. And they're not interested in that, are they? So Shamuel can help us do that. Get rid of the riffraff. Get rid of people who... How many frenemies do you have around you? I mean, all through my life, it has been people who are committed to misunderstanding me because there's just something that bothers them about me. Shamuel helps you realize that's not something that you need to let bother you. That's a them problem. And you're not going to fit in with them. And they can't understand you, so they may want to destroy you. If it's psychologically, emotionally, whatever the case may be. Okay? So we don't need to take it. We do not need to take it. Change your life. A sudden revelation that offers freedom. Break free of procrastination. Embrace the opportunities that change brings, and being more vocal. Like in my case, like when I see, this has happened several times in my career. I had said something about baby souls might come to people in a different vessel. Saw a pretty big YouTuber about a week or two after I posted my video, almost verbatim to what I said in my video, put it in her video and tried to pass it off like, again, we can all bring in messages. It's when you take my words. I make my living off of words. Okay. So anyway, but we're going to start realizing that we don't need to just tolerate these things because society says, you're a better person if you just stay quiet. So we're, like I said before, getting de-influenced. We're not letting people tell us that our homes are not good enough. We're not letting people tear us down. We're realizing what makes us happy. This also goes into the workplace. If you've got someone there who's threatened by you, and so, especially if they have any authority over you whatsoever, which has always been a weird thing to me. Here you go. This will tell you that I'm not maybe of this planet. I have no idea. But I always thought the hierarchy in workplaces was ridiculous. My battery gave out on me. Sorry about that. But I was saying that, I always thought it was weird that there's this hierarchy. I believe there should be a boss because I ain't trying to have that responsibility. Let that be somebody else's problem. That I have no problem with. But this idea of seniority, and I know that's a little weird, and some people are like, no, wait a minute. If I'm working in a place for 20 years, somebody who just got here shouldn't, get the same privileges that I do. But what I'm saying is the mentality that some places have where it's you come in with all this experience, but because you don't have the experience there, they treat you like you got to start over like you're an intern. It's weird. It's very, very weird to me. Or the power struggles, the power dynamics. That's so ridiculous. What a waste of time. Can you imagine what people could be creating if we were more collaborative and not so competitive and being so threatened because you think someone's going to outshine you? Lord. Wanting to sabotage people. Here's another one that I set up. Anybody who chooses to sabotage me out of jealousy, may I be protected. May every innocent person be protected, and let that energy go back to them times 10. Amen, and so it is. Let them get a taste of their own medicine in accordance to God and what is appropriate. No harm to anybody. Amen, and so it is. All right, let's get a Magdalene card here. The Judgment. Well, there's that. So this is the time that we are in right now. Where are you going to land? Where are you going to land? What's going to happen for you? Now, there are going to be a lot of people who... Here's the feeling. This mic, I don't know what it's doing. Do you see this? It has a mind of its own. I'm hesitating because it's going to be so different for everybody. It's going to be so different for everybody. If you want a personal reading, angelsouls444.com. Head on over there. It's just going to be different for everybody. It just depends on where you are. Again, you can sit there and go through all the spiritual motions or be mentally open-minded to esoteric wisdom. But that doesn't mean that you're incorporating it. It doesn't mean that you're embodying it. And that's the problem. That's the problem. And I know this because I give readings. And a couple of years ago, I started doing live readings, which I never wanted to do for many reasons. Because people don't pay, or they sit there and make faces throughout the reading. They keep you on longer than what they paid for. They steal your time. They steal your energy. Those are the feeder souls, right? But I can see how people are responding. And I've had so many clients where they're like, yeah. I know all that. I've studied all that stuff. I am a this master, right? But I'm like, yeah, but you're worried about a car, which, okay. We have our human needs and we have to look at that stuff. But they're really wanting the whole reading to be about a car. Okay? Or, right? So I could feel people being like, huh? Yeah, exactly. Or they want their whole reading to be about a legal settlement. I can't tell you how many readings I get with people wanting to figure out an inheritance. And I know that can be very, very stressful. But some of the people sitting and asking about the inheritance, you can just tell they're greedy. And they're making everyone's lives miserable over this stuff. And, they're more concerned about getting money than the fact that they just lost somebody. Because some of these are fresh. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've had a lot of them. A lot of them. There for a while, it was blowing my mind. I thought something was in the air. What in the heck? So I want to put all this out there for your consideration. As you know, this is sort of just as if we were sitting and chatting with one another. Hopefully you don't have a friend in your life who talks for, I don't even know how long, 37 minutes, something like that, and you don't get to talk back. That's not a friend. Okay. As a matter of fact, that's probably a sign of narcissism. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, it's ADHD. I don't know. If somebody needs to, if you inhale and they got to hurry up and talk over you and bring the conversation back to them, or they interrupt you and you keep talking to set the boundary, like, hey, I'm speaking, and they get louder and they get angry at you for not shutting up, screw those people. Okay. Shut your energy off. If they don't like it, they're going to start doing the things, okay? It's not their world anymore. Yeah, they're going to be losing it, and it's not your problem. Angelsouls444.com. Thank you guys for sitting here with me and listening to all this. As always, I am sending you so much love, and take care.